new footage of the Capitol breach and testimony from several witnesses sought to demonstrate the events were coordinated by President Trump, all in an attempt to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. Let's get more now from our congressional correspondent, Kilmeny Dukart. She joins us now live from Capitol Hill. Kilmeny, good morning.
Good morning, Sean and Emma. For 90 minutes before a primetime audience, the committee laid out evidence and testimony detailing the violent breach of the U.S. Capitol to lay bare their claim that the January 6th attack was incited by former President Trump.
Those who invaded our Capitol and battled law enforcement for hours were motivated by what President Trump had told them, that the election was stolen and that he was the rightful president. President Trump summoned the mob, assembled the mob, and lit the flame of this attack.
Using security camera footage and body cams, the committee used a carefully curated timeline to show how Capitol Police were outnumbered, being beaten by rioters, and showing chants from the crowd to hang Mike Pence. They also showed testimony from the former Attorney General Bill Barr to demonstrate the false claim that the election was stolen.
Told the president in no uncertain terms that I did not see evidence of fraud, and that would have affected the outcome of the election. And frankly, a year and a half later, I haven't seen anything to change my mind on that.
They also showed video of investigators questioning the former president's daughter, Ivanka Trump.
Barr made that statement.
It affected my perspective. I respect Attorney General Barr. So I accepted what he was saying.
In all of this, Republicans continue to say that the committee failed to investigate why the Capitol was so ill prepared for an attack like this, or making the Capitol more secure. This as Republicans have lashed out at the treatment of former Trump advisor Peter Navarro, who claims he was placed in leg shackles and solitary confinement and denied legal representation when arrested for failing to cooperate with the January 6th committee, a claim that federal prosecutors deny. The feds have issued a gag order to prevent him from speaking. This as he seeks a 45-day court extension in order to find legal representation. Meanwhile, the committee will continue to hold these hearings over the next few weeks, detailing the findings of their 10-month investigation. Emma, Sean.
All right, Kilmeny Dukart at the Capitol with the latest there. Kilmeny, thank you.
All right, let's turn now to a member of the House Judiciary Committee, Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson. Good to see you, Congressman. Thanks so much for coming on here. Just get your take on this, of what you've seen last night, or perhaps maybe what you read this morning. What were your takeaways or takeaway from the public committee hearing on J6 last evening?
I tell you, one thing that stands out to me above all else is really the seething hatred that these committee members have for Donald Trump and anyone who has ever supported them. It consumes these folks. It drives them, and you can see it in their comments and what they've done. Think of it. You know, they've invested over nearly a year of time. They've invested thousands of hours. I mean, millions upon millions of our taxpayer dollars. They've interviewed hundreds upon hundreds of witnesses, like about 100,000 pages of documents. They hired lawyers and consultants and Hollywood producers, all for what? To rehash what everyone already knows? This was a terrible and tragic event on January 6th. The country has moved on. You led the show this morning with these outrageous inflation numbers. We have an immigration crisis. We have a supply chain crisis. We have rising crime in our cities. That's what the American people are concerned about. And yet these folks are spending all this time on what really amounts to what my friend Charlie Hertz said to the Washington Times last night. This is nothing but the third impeachment of Donald Trump.
Really quickly, this is going to happen 6 more times. This is going to happen, as far as the public is concerned, 6 more times. Why do you think the committee wants to hold these publicly so many times? What would be the purpose of that?
There is simply one purpose of this. First, they want to get Donald Trump, and they were open about that. They were very clear in the opening statements. This is to punish him for all of the grievances they have against him, for all the reasons that they've cited and that they hold and don't talk about. That sometimes they say the quiet part out loud now, but really, at the end of the day, this is to try to distract the American people from all these crises that everybody's facing on a daily basis now. The Democrats have nothing to run on. We have a fateful election cycle coming up in November. And this is their last-ditch attempt. They're throwing everything, out. They've got all the mainstream media on their team. They're playing this like a Hollywood-style production. I don't think it's going to make a bit of difference. I was going through airports late last night while this was going on. I was looking at people in the terminal, everybody on their phones and iPads on the television screen in the hall. No one was watching this production. And I think that tells the story.
And the Rangers, Tampa, Game 5 of the Stanley Cup playoffs were on as well, so there definitely was alternate programming there. I want to, speaking of what you were talking about in terms of other news making headlines, that leaked Supreme Court opinion, obviously the assassination attempt as well as Kavanaugh, major headline there. But you put this out on the Supreme Court leak saying Republicans introduced a bill to imprison leakers, making it a federal crime to leak confidential information from the Supreme Court. Talk to me about this. Do you see any support for it? Kind of explain that to our viewers.
Yeah, there should be support for this. This leak was unprecedented. It's created a serious crisis. It's endangering the very lives of the justices right now as we speak. There are protesters, criminals breaking the law. They're on the lawns of the justices right now, at their homes, where their children are, breaking the law. There's a federal law that prevents this, but the Department of Justice will do nothing about it, Merrick Garland. So we filed a resolution in Congress early last month, right after the leak, to call upon the DOJ to prosecute the law. And we also filed the Leaker Accountability Act. We've got many Republicans on this. If it were brought to a vote, I think we might be able to pass this. It should be a bipartisan concern. But going forward, we need to make this part of the law. If someone leaks confidential information from the Supreme Court, it needs to be punishable by prison time. We want to make up to 5 years in prison the penalty for that and fines. We've got to prevent this from happening. The independence of our judiciary is essential to our system of justice, the rule of law, our Constitution. We're losing that, and we're losing it at our peril.
Yeah, we still don't know the outcome of Dobbs v. Jackson yet. So, again, that is still awaited, though the opinion leak is out there, in which led to what appears to be a motive for a 26-year-old man from California to attempt the assassination of a Supreme Court justice, this according to police findings. But in terms of how this was played in the media, it seemed to be buried, that assassination attempt, and it didn't go unnoticed. And we've got examples for you here. The Daily Signal putting here, the eerie silence around Kavanaugh assassination attempt. Daily Caller, MSNBC barely covers Kavanaugh news as media cries of mob violence. National Review says New York Times buries Kavanaugh assassination attempt on page 20. You had to actually go through to find it. AP News as well. It wasn't, you couldn't find it on their website yesterday. I continuously looked for it. But then there's this sound. I'll play this and I'll get your reaction to it.
But in this climate, don't we all have to take a beat and really pay attention from both sides? Because we both are guilty of it. Both sides are guilty of doing this.
But how the media covered this story, do you have thoughts on that? Would it have been different if it was a liberal leaning justice?
We all know the answer to that question. Of course it would. This is a staggering level of hypocrisy. And the reason the media is covering for this is because it is the Democrat leaders in Congress who unleashed this fury. Remember, it was Chuck Schumer, the top Democrat in the U.S. Senate, who stood on the steps of the Supreme Court and called out Justice Kavanaugh and Gorsuch by name, said they would release the whirlwind and they wouldn't know what hit them and all of that. Maxine Waters and all the other Democrats, we could go down all morning and name them, who went out and spurred on this violence. And so now it's happening. People are taking their advice. They're taking weapons to the front lawns of the justices. It's unbelievable. If Republicans even hinted at anything like this, there would be an inquisition like you're seeing with the Donald Trump J6 hearings. But the media buries it. They're in on this. And they don't mind that conservative justices are intimidated because it is pursuing their agenda. It is outrageous and dangerous, and we've got to stop this.
All right, Congressman Mike Johnson from Louisiana. Good to see you, Congressman. Thank you so much for taking the time for the viewers. We appreciate that.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.